Hello, my name is Joe Blanchard, and I am excited that your business has chosen me to present to you today about some exciting investment opportunities in Canada and some considerations that your business might have before you jump right in. We've had a lot of great presentations today by our team. My specific niche for you today is going to be the import and exports that Canada currently has. I believe this is an important topic for your business to consider because we want to know what the free market, what Canada does well for wanting from that market, and what does Canada do the best to send out into the market. And with that information, we can then look at your business and figure out where do you fit? Are you going to be competing with the imports? Are you going to be competing with the exports? Or are you in an industry that hasn't even showed up on that free market's radar? And those are really important considerations for success in your business. So what I have for you today is we are going to look at the import and export analysis. I've got a couple of different Canadian icons on here. As you've talked a little bit about culture, we've talked a little bit about economic policy. What is it that this country produces out into the market? And what do Canadians want from the free market? The top thing, it might come as a little bit of a surprise, is vehicles. But if you think to yourself what major Canadian car manufacturer is there, they don't really exist. So every vehicle in Canada is foreign, pretty much. You've got Fords, you've got Hyundais, you've got Toyotas, you've got a variety of different vehicles, all necessary for the large distance of the country, the large amount of commercial freight that goes across the country. Another import is the electronic equipment, computers, and smartphones. Again, this makes a lot of sense. We see this a lot even in the American market. Japanese, Korean companies are very good. Chinese companies are very good at manufacturing these specific electronic items and computer components and shipping them out into the market. And there's a very, very high demand, of course, for these items. I think every one of us has a smartphone in our pocket, and Canadians, of course, are no different. The pharmaceutical and medical supply industry, this is a primarily American import. Our industry in America is very large, right across the border. A lot of manufacturing goes over across the border, and there's a European component to this, but the major imports are going to be from America there. Iron and steel products. Again, this is American and Chinese. A lot of iron and steel from China is circulating around the world, and it is very necessary in Canada. So you look at that list, and there's a couple of major themes. Canada has a small population, not a huge industrial base to build its own large scale projects from. It does need other nations that are more specifically designed for that kind of work. So as you look at your business, if you're wanting to sell to these Canadians from outside, you're going to want to find something that's a little bit difficult for their country to do. And if you can do it at a cheaper price and you can do it for a little bit better, it's going to be easy to get into this market. Again, they don't have large factories, so if you are allied with some, that's going to be very advantageous for your company. The other part of the equation that I want to take a look at is the exports. Canada is unique. It is the only Western industrialized nation that uses the primary resource economy as its major moneymaker. You got oil. The Albertan tar sands are a very famous example. We've got timber, we got forest for miles, precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, aluminum, very important. This all ties together. There's a great relationship between Canada and Boeing and Canada and Airbus. They build many of the aircraft components that you see in your planes. They also were a major contributor to Apollo missions, shuttle missions, International Space Station. There's a large amount of exports going out into different markets for aircraft and spacecraft components. And they're not building the whole thing, but they do specialize in a few niche areas. And then vehicles also shows up on the export list. And a big reason for this is that there are some companies, Toyota and Ford, that find an advantage in having factories in Canada that can reduce cost of shipping and reduce cost of labor. So you will see a little bit of that crossing over. So definitely don't be afraid to dive into the Canada market. You do have some export potential there. Currency is very attractive, much lower than in America. A little bit of bang for the buck. You do want to take advantage of that. Another portion that I want to take a look at is NAFTA. And NAFTA is important for this import-export conversation because it is the best market for you to dive into and have the greatest advantage. NAFTA is the United States, Mexico, and Canada, the North American Free Trade Act agreement. And if your business is headquartered in the United States or Mexico, this is the easiest way to do business. You have no tariffs to worry about practically on your imports and exports. A few exceptions, of course, if you are competing with a vital national security function, but for the most part, this is a freebie. You don't even have to consider your cost of doing business. You can go right in. And so if you are a country, if your business does originate outside of these three countries, you would want to consider maybe a subsidiary if you want to do the best business with Canada. One thing that is a little bit hard is if you want to try to own a Canadian company, you will have to get approval from the Investment Canada Act. So that is definitely something to consider, but maybe not the first choice there. So in summary, it's important for your business to consider the imports and exports so that you know what you're up against and what kind of competition you might have in certain industries. And it's important to know that where you're headquartered makes a really big difference on that import-export equation. And we definitely recommend that you be in the NAFTA zone or try to get approval through the Investment Canada Act to get the best bang for your buck. Thank you.